Sit back underneath this wonderful show of Divine Oracle podcast that can be found right here underneath Podbean with your hosts, Psychic Me, Chris and Jillian. At times, so that they will be having special guests coming to you, talking about their own spiritual journeys and where you can find them.
Hey Jill, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Doing quite well. I know today we have a very special guest coming in all the way from Victoria, BC. And you and I, we've actually spent quite a bit of time out there.
Over the years? Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah. Now, I know for myself, though, I was actually out there back in August. And again, I used to live in Colwood, so just north of Victoria. And the energy out there is really strong.
We have a intuitive reader and traditional healer medium. Her name is Isabel O'Kenny's. I'm sure. Yeah. So. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry if I screwed up that last name. I tried so hard.
Well, I can teach you. The last time you said it was correct. So think of the Oka crisis and then niece. My niece went to the Oka crisis. So
Okanese.
There you go. You said it.
I know so that you're actually close to right down the heart of downtown Victoria. Sort of what we work with. You're close to the Fisherman's Wharf, which is pretty cool location, actually, altogether. Can you sort of let our viewers know a little bit about you, by any chance?
I feel like there's so much to say. But first of all, I'll say thank you for having me on the show. Chimigretch. Actually, when I first moved to the Quantum Territory, also known as Victoria, I actually lived on a boat on Fisherman's Wharf. And it was quite the experience because I grew up landlocked.
Yeah.
In Alberta, Ojibwe from the Turtle Clan, and Spirit has spoken to me since I was a child. And I always tell people this thing, it's okay if you don't believe me, but my earliest memories of speaking to a ghost was in the late spring of 1972. So I was still a baby. Might have been about 8 months old. And Spirit has been talking to me ever since. And I tell people that I'm the most reluctant psychic you'll ever meet because I thought being a medium, being to speak to Spirit, knowing things that were going to happen was a bad thing. That it was more of a curse than a blessing. And I didn't see it as a spiritual gift until I moved to Victoria. And it took a year after I had been here because unfortunately back home, and it's not a judgment, but back home, elders would say people like me who are small and venues tarot readings or use cards, use crystals that were from the Bible. And so people were not open to what I had to offer. So I would go to sweat lodges and whisper to somebody, oh, don't tell anyone, but I use crystals and I do tarot readings. And they're like, and they'll whisper back, oh, so do I. So you would keep it a secret. And It wasn't until I moved here in 2011 and 2012, I realized, in 2013, after a year of doing readings and the elders here being excited that an Indigenous woman's providing, tarot readings, spiritual services, that I was like, oh, I need to see this as a spiritual gift and that it's not something terrible. But it used to get me into trouble because I would blurt out personal information about whoever I was talking to. I remember in grade 2, I put up my little hand and I said to the teacher, just because your wife, whatever she had said, she said something awful to you the night before. It's like, just because your wife said that to you and she's mad at you doesn't mean you have to take your anger out on us.
Yeah.
And I was sent to the hallway for the day to stand by my locker because I was repeating what was being said during the fight the previous night, and he was not having any of it because I had blurted out his personal information. But as a child, I didn't know that not everybody could get this spiritual information.
Now, was it actually more or less do with ghosts, or was it the ancestors by any chance? Because I know with us Indigenous, we believe more with our ancestors.
I feel it's a combination of both. So, for instance, those in my family who pass on, they'll come and help me with the readings, give me information, and then they'll go about whatever they're doing. I don't know. I don't follow them. And then there are ghosts or spirits. So, like, maybe a tree will start talking to me, or a hummingbird, or an eagle. I tend to send her away, but the Virgin Mary will show up, and I'll tell her, I'm not Christian.
Yeah.
I'm not Catholic. It's best to go to brothers and sisters. They'll be happy to talk to you, but unless you come to me as a pure light, like, I send her away. Because of residential school, I prefer that you go someplace else or come as a pure light.
Now, looking actually at your website, you deal with Willow Whispers, and can you sort of let your listeners know a little bit about that by any chance?
That is actually a startup. We're launching it in April. I've started this psychic platform with an angel investor, and he's actually one of the Reiki practitioners. And I met him online a few years ago, and I was actually giving him readings, and I was his spiritual advisor quite regularly for a year. And he kept mentioning that he wanted to build a website and to work with me. And so the website actually grew out of relationship building. So this is, at first I was providing a service to him as a spiritual advisor, giving him mediumship readings and tarot readings. And then over the years, it's been, I think, 4 years since I met him. And he's now my angel investor, and we're creating Willow Whispers so that it's an authentic site where the readers and healers actually care about the clients. We're intending to build relationship around this, so it's not like a one-off or quickly. Like, I think of sometimes people online, I call them like quick and dirty readings, because they're only like 4 minutes and I'll never see that person again. Whereas with Willow Whispers, it's meant for people who want to come back and develop a rapport and develop a relationship. So it's relationship building. And yes, I'm Indigenous, and we have another Indigenous reader. However, it's open to all ethnicities. Because what will resonate with one person won't resonate with another. And so it's as diverse and as inclusive as possible.
Okay.
So where did the name Willow Whispers come from? Who came up with that?
Actually, the angel investor came up with that. And he wanted something spiritual, so like based on a tree. And then he said he felt like the information we get from spirit is whispered to us from the spirit world.
And the willow tree is very much like the grounding of your planet and Earth and everything. So it's very much the spiritual plant, is it not, the willow?
For us Cree, yes, because willows are used for ceremonies such as the sweat lodge, where you make the hut out of the willow tree. And willow, I guess part of one of their teachings is that we're to be bendy like the willow. As the willow bends and moves back and forth in the wind, it can even be like a cedar. If a big, huge, strong wind came, it would be knocked over. However, the willow will bend and move with it. And the beautiful thing about willow is that you can cut it, remove it from, where it's growing, have a sweat lodge for many years, 10, 15 years, and then you can put that willow back in the ground and it'll grow.
So it's very strong.
Yes. And it's a beautiful medicine. And in the Cree way, the old way, it's our relative. And it's smarter than us, and it has a lot to teach us.
I gotta agree with you there 100%, because for me though, I am actually a Cree descendant of the third generation, right? So yes. Now you do readings though. What you were saying though, what type of readings do you do?
I offer a variety of different readings. I started off with providing tarot readings mixed with mediumship. Because 12 years ago I wasn't ready to offer any of my Indigenous services, because at that time, and maybe you're aware of this, there was a lot of backlash and a lot of violence, because to charge for spiritual services is still frowned upon, but not as badly as say 12, 15, 20 years ago.
Yes.
And so I knew if I offered traditional services, even though I knew I could, I could just look at a person and give a reading that way, or I could do hands-on healing, because my spirit guides actually taught me when I was a child how to do hands-on healing. And also I'm natural born healer. I'm spiritually gifted, and so I'm self-taught. And in the Native community, especially in the past, that's frowned upon because no elder taught me, but Spirit taught me. And I often felt like Spirit raised me, because Spirit definitely has an influence over my personality, my sense of humor. And when I meet others who were played with spirits as a child, they're very similar to me in the terms of what they consider funny, right? So at the beginning, I did just offer tarot with mediumship because that was, I felt a lot more acceptable or accepted, and I didn't want any backlash. But of course, I'm now in my 50s, so I'm more brave to tell people that, I do throwing the bone readings.
Yeah.
So that's based on the medicine wheel. So the medicine wheel has 4 quadrants. We're often told in, I guess you can say, Western New Age belief, and Western belief, that we're supposed to find balance in our mind, body, and soul.
Yep.
And in the Cree holistic way, we're supposed to find balance emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So there's 4 areas of our lives. So in the mind, body, and soul, that's missing, like it's missing the 4th leg, I guess you could call it. But I base the medicine wheel, or not the medicine wheel, but my readings, like the bone readings, the tobacco readings that I offer, rope readings, on the medicine wheel, so that you can have a more holistic approach to the readings, and you can cover the emotional, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And it can go from the time you're a baby all the way up to an elder or a senior. And a lot of things will come in. Like star people will come in and start talking. Animals will come in and start sharing information.
Yeah, I know for myself being Indigenous, like I totally understand where you're coming from. And now I know Jillian, though she is non-Indigenous, but she's Indigenous supportive. Can you sort of elaborate a little bit more exactly with the bone reading, so some of our listeners that are non-Indigenous can sort of know a little bit more about that?
Well, the bone reading, there's 2 train of thoughts. One is that all people, before tarot readings became popular, so before the 1500s, all people did throwing the bone readings. And so it's an old style of reading that predates the discovery of doing tarot readings. And so it's a much more, again, a holistic approach to doing a reading. And you have to develop a relationship with the objects that you're using. So a lot of the items, even though I call it a bone readings, some of it has bones, so like a deer bone, and they're from Up Island actually. And then also I have driftwood, some tree kits that I actually found on Dallas Road. So on my many visits to the ocean, I would pick shells. I would take trinkets that I would find. I would hear a voice, and I would look down, and there's this thing that was just waiting for me. And little pieces of wood. So they're all items that were either found or given to me. And it's not like they're inanimate objects. They're animate objects that are our grandmothers and grandfathers. And I see them as a portal to the spirit world. And they have teachings to give us. And some of the rocks and some of the wood actually look like nebulas or stars or a spaceship. And so then these items actually, I feel, speak to me. And sometimes they'll make a picture themselves. Like this one reading I gave after the person laid down, because the person will pick items, like 16, 20 items, lay them down. And after this one person did that, it looked like somebody who was cross-legged. It actually looked like a person.
Okay.
And they recognized that person. And she just thought she was just randomly put down objects, but she was listening to her. And so I tell people, when you get a bone reading with me or rope reading or tobacco reading, it's the story of you. You cannot get the same reading twice. Unlike tarot readings, the same cards will come up over and over again, but that's an indication that the person's not listening.
Yeah.
And so the tarot cards are like pounding the person on the head, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'll tell people, like, they're letting me know you're not quite hearing what I'm saying and you're blocking it out. But with the bone readings and such, no one gets hit over the head. But most people say, because it's a much more gentler reading, and most people say that their questions have been answered, because I'll just talk straight for half an hour, and most people will say that their questions were answered and they didn't even ask a question.
Okay.
Is that a good way to describe?
It is. It is. What do you think, Jill?
That was definitely a different description for sure. I know in the past I've seen bone readings where they put things into a jar, they shake it up, they throw it on the table, and then they look at it. I think that's more of the witchery side of the bone reading versus the Indigenous side of bone reading. So it kind of gives me a perspective of two different readings and styles.
Yeah, my style is more tactile and more relationship based, because the client is touching the items. Their energy becomes part of the item, so they will choose what feels right to them. So that's why it's a story of you. It'll never be the same reading twice. And I've never given, when someone's come for multiple bone readings over time, they've never gotten the same reading twice. It's always new information, because they're changing as well. So who you are today might be different from 3 months ago or 6 months ago or a year ago. So your emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual state is different. It might even be better. You might be a better version of yourself. And sometimes the cards don't reflect that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry. It's my turn. So, go ahead, Jill, if you got a question.
So you also have down that you do palmistry. That's reading palms, or is that a little bit different than the average reader?
Oh, it is reading palms.
Okay.
Again, I was being a reluctant psychic. So in Victoria, it's a very big tourist town. And for many years, the tourists kept pushing me to do palmistry. And I really didn't want to learn palmistry. I just felt it required no talent whatsoever. And I'm used to mediumship and spirits coming in and telling me what's what and telling me to shut up and I'm talking too long. Let the client ask their question, right? So it's very immersive. So with palmistry, it was to me, it was more of like reading a biology book. Because in biology class, I just did memorization, and then I regurgitated what my teacher wanted to know. And I guess that is a skill, but I didn't really have that much enthusiasm for palmistry. However, the tourists kept pushing me, and so many were asking for a palm reading. I was like, okay, fine. I will teach myself enough to do a 10-minute reading. And so I've been doing those since, I think, 2018. And 2 years ago is when, and unfortunately I didn't really, even when I was doing palm readings, I didn't respect it as much as I respect it now. But 2 years ago, I just started telling customers, you can learn this. It's just recognizing patterns. And that summer, I kept meeting people after people after people who kept telling me, I can't recognize the pattern. And I was like, what do you mean? Patterns are everywhere. I can do a reading right now with the shadows on the ground. Those are patterns. And they couldn't understand. And I said, because some of these were ladies, and I said, well, you put makeup on, you put your outfit together, that's a pattern, and it looks nice. You look well put together. You recognize the pattern that suits you. And they had no idea what I was talking about. And they were telling me, that's not a pattern. I'm like, yes, it is. It's no different than reading the pattern on your hand. That's when I realized, oh, I guess this is a skill. And then also people started saying, I don't see that line. I think you're reading something else. And they said, I believe you, but I think there's more to this palm reading than you're letting on. And I was like, but I see the line so clearly. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm having this spiritual moment while doing palmistry, and there's more skill to it than I originally thought. And now I find it enjoyable. And yes. I'm still learning more. I mean, there are, like, in India, they are phenomenal palm readers. And I would love to be at that level, in a spiritual level, where they just take it to the next level.
Yep. That's good. Now, where did you used to work before? Like you said a couple of years ago that you used to work, like do readings. Was it still actually out of the same location, or was it at a different location?
Oh, so the tourist, that's at Bastion Square Market.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So now I'll be returning to that this summer.
For those that don't know Bastion Square, it is one of the haunted locations actually downtown Victoria. It's a gorgeous location, and it's once right where the former jail is, and there used to be hangings there. It's really active area, actually, downtown Victoria. And yeah. So whereabouts are you? Like, do you pick a spot by any chance actually in the Bastion Square, or?
Usually it's the tree beside, well, on either side of what used to be the courthouse.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, not the trees near the building where it's a college, but the old abandoned blue building or teal colored building.
Okay.
But those two trees, either.
Okay.
Because I've been there going back and forth for a number of years. And I'll tell you, because I'm in my little teepee.
Yeah. That's you?
Yeah, I'm known as Girl in the Teepee for some reason, knowing me as Isabel. People forget my name, but they remember the teepee. But I'll sit, like last summer, I was sitting in the teepee and I was looking at the building where there's the college and lawyers. And each window for 3 floors, there's like a bad spirit in each window, and they're all mad at me and shaking their little fist at me, or like grimacing their face. And I was like, "Oh, you guys are so weak. You can't leave the confines of those rooms." And even clients, like the tourists, were like, "Is there any ghosts around here?" And I was like, "Yeah, can't you see them? They're just right there." And they couldn't see them, but one could feel them. And I was like, "Aren't you scared?" I'm like, "No, you can just say a prayer, and I tell them they're weak, and because they're stuck in the building,
Yeah.
they can't leave. Sure, they look menacing, but it's like a dog. Their bite is.
Yeah, I remember seeing you actually there when I was out. Yeah, because my husband and I, we were walking through the area really quick, trying to get through to certain areas. Now, how do you find it actually out in Victoria, BC, with people being more open-minded? Because I know most of the traffic is from the States actually out there. Do you find a lot of people are more open-minded out there on the island, or? I
feel that they are. I moved here from Edmonton.
Yeah.
And, sorry, I was going to cough. So I find, since I moved here from Edmonton, Victoria, or the Quantum Territory, is more open-minded. I can't imagine having my business in Edmonton. I don't think I would be able to survive off of it. I would have to get a regular day job. And although there's like a plethora of readers and psychics here in Victoria, there's also a much larger population that is more interested in this. So they'll schedule in a reading or a healing, like they'll have a hair appointment in the morning, come for their reading and healing, and then go home and make supper.
Yeah.
So it's a part of their everyday life. And here too, a lot of the Coast Salish are more open to getting readings than say back home. Because like back home, it was drilled into me that people like me came from the devil. And elders would say during ceremony, never go to a tarot reader or anyone who uses crystals. So they are getting more open-minded.
Yeah.
However, I feel Victoria's, in regards to the New Age practices, they're a little bit more open.
Okay. All right.
So how would people get a hold of you?
Oh, through the website?
At willowwhispers.com?
Yes, so willow-whispers.com. And my email address through there is Isabel at willowwhispers.com. There's also my social media. If you look up my name, I'm on Instagram and also Facebook. And you can email me at okanese@gmail.com. I know that one's a little bit longer.
Yeah. Don't worry, people. We'll have the link down below if you guys are interested about getting in contact with Isabel. So we'll actually have all of her links below. Is there any stories that you'd like to share with us today?
I can share that when I first moved to Victoria, because I lived on a boat. And I also my teachings about water people is a little bit different than others, and so my bio dad would tell me spiritual stories when I was a little kid. So he would tell me about water people, snakes that were so big they would knock down trees, thunderbirds, all these spiritual stories, and he would tell me at the kitchen table. And so, for instance, like this is what I was taught. And my late bio parents, they were born in the 1930s. So this is, it's definitely from a different time. And so, for instance, water people, if they found someone attractive, they would kidnap that person and then stuff their body somewhere, and then take it out to look at them and stuff them back. And so, long time ago, when someone drowned, the old people would say, or would ask, were they handsome? And if the answer was yes, they would say, just nod their heads, because they knew the water people had taken that person. And so in my mind, I was raised, you see a water person, you don't talk to them, you don't talk about them, and you leave them alone because they will kill you. They will unalive you and take you. So when I first moved to Edmonton, a water person would follow me. Like I would go to the river valley to go pray, and there'd be a water person in the river. And I was just like, oh my God, I have to get away from, because they're going to take me. And so when I moved here, when I was living on the boat, the water person kept popping up. And I was just like, oh my God, why does she keep following me? It's the same water person that has followed me since I was a teenager. However, the Cree out here who do sweat lodges, their teachings are different from what my bio dad taught me. Water people are healers, and they're considered family, and they have special medicine. So being here actually taught me something different. So when I saw the water person following me, and this was before I changed my thinking about water people, I was like, okay, I can't be at odds with her anymore. I said, thank you for coming to visit me. I guess you're checking up on me to make sure I'm safe. And I gave her some tobacco and some fish. But even so, like, after coming to Sweats here, and we're praying to the water people or the mermaids to heal us and to protect us and help us. And they're our relatives, and we're to be excited and happy when we see them. But I was like, that was such a different teaching from when I was a child. But even when I go to the ocean now, I still tell the water people, I'm not offering. Here's some tobacco and some fish. Please do not unalive me. Yeah. I want to be alive and stay human and do, creator's work for however long I live.
Awesome. All right. Well, we do say thanks a lot for popping in today for the episode. And again, for everybody that's very much so interested, because it seems like Isabel has a lot actually to offer to you guys. That's within actually spiritual teachings and a whole bunch of other ways, especially from living inland and then moving to the island and learning different traditions. If you would like to reach Isabel, the link will be below. We do say thank you very much, Isabel, for being in today's show. And in Cree, hi. Yeah.
Ginanasko mitten means I am grateful to you.
Yes. So, all right. Well, you guys have a great one, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.